The inflation data received so far for October and November show a welcome reduction in the monthly pace of price increases. But it will take substantially more evidence to give confidence that inflation is on a sustained downward path.
Well, I'm Christopher Crystal, and welcome to Financial Stockholm. Today is Monday, January 9th, 2023, and hope the year has started off well for you. I have a little bit of a nose issue after playing a little pond hockey over the holidays, but it'll heal, like hopefully your portfolios and the market. Today in Sweden, we have a press conference that is concluding shortly, or has concluded, with Ebba Busch, our energy and kind of business economy minister, to discuss the state of the economy and the state of energy prices in Sweden. And we have this payment plan for the repayment that should be coming in February. And the concern is really about how this is affecting the economy, what the energy prices will be. And now that this government, which has been in now since last year, after 9 weeks, I think it's now, we're somewhere between, I think, 9 and 12 weeks, they can start to make a new start for themselves and really pave their path. So hopefully that'll be in the form of nuclear power. We do see that Germany is trying to block some of the Polish power plants. Remember, there were 2 power plants that were approved in Poland, and were going to be built by, I believe, Westinghouse. And there were 2 400 million power plants. And the German states close to the Polish area are saying that they don't want to have the nuclear power. So we'll see how our situation goes, because we do have some German involvement in one of the companies that is a minority owner in a few of our companies, power companies. But we'll see what happens. And then we may have also received press comments from Ebba Busch concerning our ESG goals, because of the Swedish stated goals on solar and wind, and not including nuclear, and achievability by 2030. And that will not be available to do with the solar nor the wind. And we'll see. But I mean, nuclear takes 7 years to build, but at least we would have the power. And this may build a strong memory and legacy for the current government for any next coming term. So I think that's it's an important focus. But for the investing side, I think looking at the windmills, looking at power grid infrastructures, of course, cabling companies, and of course, companies that are doing the natural gas cabling, like Trelleborg, could be good companies there. And then moving over to the next big pressing issue would be NATO. In Norway, Jens Stoltenberg, who's the continued head of NATO, has said that 2% has to be the minimum, and that's what it was always supposed to be. So it's a little funny that he says that's the minimum now. But what this means is, from an investment side, you can look at these companies that are producing the missile technology, the drone technology, the munition technology. So, you know, that's BAE, that's a number of Swedish companies, some that were bought out by BAE. Then you have the aircraft, you have the troop transports. Troop transports work a lot better in Ukraine than the tanks. The US has, you know, positioned tanks and sending tanks, but really the troop transport flowed a little better on the mud than the tanks do. There's a lot of videos out there of the tanks being bogged down, both Russian and American. So they're a little heavy for the Ukrainian mud. And then also for the Swedish citizen, the issue is that our prime minister is saying that we may have to reinstate the draft, or compulsory military service, where young Swedish citizens had to serve for 2 years, and that may be reenacted. And then company-wise, we see, if you think about the companies in Ukraine, there is a electronics convention in Las Vegas this week, and there's something like 12 companies that are all private equity held right now that are going to be in Las Vegas. And you can find this through the Private Equity Association in Ukraine, They list the company names, what they're focused on. They're all technology. And so it's interesting to see that they're floating out technology names when that's been one of the worst performing sectors. So we'll see what happens there. But if you want to look at those, that would be another good area. Starbucks in Sweden, we're coffee lovers up here, but Starbucks does not like when their employees are unionizing in Sweden. And you would think that's a little different than what they've been doing in the US. And so that'll bring up some contention, but no real impact on Starbucks itself, just on its business operations in Sweden. And then what you also have is an interesting development. This happened last Monday, but I just want to mention it. This happened with the the Virgin Islands. So the Attorney General for the Virgin Islands was relieved of her position by Albert Bryan, the governor. And this happened after she filed her lawsuit against JP Morgan Chase for its assistance in Jeffrey Epstein's operations of people smuggling. And what's really interesting about this as well, there's several layers, is that SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, or as everybody's calling him, Sam Bank-Fraud, was based in Virgin Islands, okay? And he was down in Virgin Islands the whole time until the FBI took him in or extradited him over to the US. And the President Biden went down to the Virgin Islands for a vacation, which was a little bit unusual. And he left on a very hurried schedule because he left behind the omnibus bill, which had to be flown down to him as well. So he left Washington to get to the Virgin Islands, have the meetings, and we don't get to see the visitor logs. And then he got the omnibus, which was signed and sent back, the 4,000-page bill. Then on this weekend, or on Friday, I think, this lady, Denise George, she was fired. And it's because of the, it said it's because of the SBF and JP Morgan Chase, but I would think it has more to do with the SPF FTT. So be very careful in your cryptos, always, of course. I don't advise them at all, but that would be something that you might want to take a look at right now. And then on a lighter note, we may have some sort of wolf hunting that'll occur here in Sweden. They're starting to open up to this after Ursula von der Leyen's favorite pony was killed last year. And now there's even articles in the Swedish paper saying we have to rediscuss our wolf story. And in Sweden, we, in the 1820s, the 1850s, they eliminated a lot of the wolves. They killed thousands. And then by the 1890s, the wolves were done. And I think the last one in Stockholm was shot around 1891. And it was on the King's hunting grounds. So now we have about 300. It's different sources will give you different amounts. Some will say 200, others will say 300 to 400. But from one of the sources that I got, you have between 300 and 400. And this is a wolf population that re-entered Sweden and Norway via Russia, where it connects over on the bridge into Norway and then down into Sweden. So that's it from Financial Stockholm. I mean, the market's going to be a bit tricky. We have the CPI coming out on Thursday. We'll keep watching what's going on. And remember, you can always make money in the market. Either you're long or you're short, or you're long-term strategic or short-term tactical. These are strategies, and right now in the market, with the conditions that we have, we see a rapid growth overall markets for options. So that's another area that you can always look at. And with that, I'll wish you a great day and have continued success in the market. Thank you.